I'm a caretaker on Seguin Island. Entry 4, A Beacon of Hope. Written by NewUnknowns. Hi guys, if you haven't heard the earlier entries in the series, I suggest you listen to them. You'll have a lot of catching up to do. You can check them out by clicking on the card in the top right corner of the video. Alright, let's get started. I'm sorry for the abrupt ending with my last entry. Moira had a plan, and I really wanted to hear it, but I'll get into all of that later. After a ton of exploring a burning hell, hiding and running from winged flesh eaters and giant beasts, I somehow made my way into the old guest quarters attached to the lighthouse. As you may remember, the old island is in the sky, upside down. It serves as a taunting reminder of just how far down the rabbit hole I've gone. When I got inside, everything turned right side up again. I felt my body somersault as everything shifted. I felt a wave of nausea crash over me, and I thought I was about to heave. The idea that all hope wasn't lost kept me from losing whatever may or may not have been left in my stomach. The best part was that I found my laptop, and it still works. The battery has been on red for as long as I can remember, but much stranger things have been going on. I'm just glad that I can still record all of this somewhere. My Wi-Fi signal also says that I'm somehow still connected, but the source says unknown. If I'm still managing to reach you all, then that's even better. Go on, I know what you're thinking. That sounds impossible. Well, yeah, it should be. I've been learning though that all things are possible. For now, let me backtrack a little so that I can explain the literal living hell that I have been a part of ever since the tramway crash. Things like that might be a little bit more believable then. A whole lot has happened in the last few days, but let me just start from where I left off. When Moira took me down the other side of the island, the severity of my situation became clear. Everyone who has come to take care of this island, back to the very first caretaker, they're all here. It took about an hour to reach the part of the fiery shore where the group stayed. We were in mountainous terrain that resembled large black fangs, as if we were walking through the mouth of madness. The only real light I've seen comes from the occasional cracks of lightning and the circling, dark clouds that swarm around the lighthouse. There's also that similar infrared light that was in my window back on the original island. I can't pin down exactly where it's coming from, it just sort of glows everywhere. Those eyes must have been a window into this place, a one-sided mirror, so to speak. Once the dust settled between Moira and I, as much as it could ever settle, we were able to speak to each other a little more. We had a lot of ground to cover, and there was so much to figure out. She started to tell me everything that she had learned about this place, and more of what she had already known. I don't know if I was ready for the weight that she was about to put on me, but I put on my best face for her. After all, I needed to do anything and everything in my power to make up for what I had done. I was dying of cancer, she said, her eyes focused straight ahead. I had a metastatic tumor in my breast that spread all the way to my brain. It was terminal, she said. Cancer. The word bounced around in my brain. It even sounds cruel. I saw so many doctors that I started to forget all of their names. They all blended together into one entity with different faces. I tried so many treatments, all with false promises and hope. They all worked until they didn't. Moira let out a desperate laugh. I was just about ready to come to terms with my condition until one night he came to me at my bedside. She stopped walking and turned to look at me. I was on death's door. I was so drained, so ready to die. It was hard to even move my eyes to look at him sitting next to me. The pain was excruciating. He promised that he could take it all away. He told me that he could cure me if I made a deal. I listened, slack-jawed. What kind of deal? I asked. A trade of good health for services rendered, she said, and she pursed her lips. And the rest is history. With that, she looked at me and readied herself for my judgment, as if I was supposed to tell her that she was wrong or evil for all of it. I can't imagine being in your situation. I'd have done the same thing. You said that you had a family. I sympathized. A bolt of lightning struck, and I caught the light reflecting in the tears that had formed in the corners of her eyes. I love them so very much. I would do anything for them. So I did, she said. After that, we made our way around the last mountain peak, and I saw a small crowd of people huddled in a cave not too far from the shore. Excellent. We made it without any interruptions. I'd like to avoid running into any monsters tonight. There's still much more to discuss, Moira said. Monsters, great, I said. Just great. When we made it to the cave, the people inside welcomed us with a strange attitude. Most of them seemed happy to see Moira return, but they almost weren't too. If you consider what her role was when she was alive, that kind of makes sense to me. Maybe I would feel the same if I hadn't killed her, or known why she agreed to work for the salesman in the first place. How do you do? One voice asked. Glad to see you again, a woman said. Another voice yelled from the side. Back so soon? He was sitting along the wall of the cave and started to stand. The left strap of his overalls hung undone, revealing most of the bloodied white shirt tightly covering his barrel chest. He started walking over towards us, kicking the rocks that were in his way. I was just sitting here praying you had fallen off one of those mountains. Perhaps you'd break your neck so the salesman could eat your soul just to fart it out later. I had to hold back a laugh. He had a wit. I don't think that the other people here for the last 10 years would be too concerned, he said. He was a hulking man. One of his hands could easily wrap around my entire head. I saw a tattoo peeking through the collar of his shirt. It was a dragon, its claws reaching up along the outside of his bulging neck. I'd dealt with a lot of big guys in my day, but I wasn't about to rustle any feathers now. Are you finished? Moira asked. I'm never finished with you. The only thing bringing peace to my soul is knowing that you ended up here with us. The man hissed. Watch your tongue. You know nothing about me. Moira fired back with a scoff. Maybe you deserve it too. You've got a lot of anger in you, boy. You know, something tells me that you aren't exactly the most innocent man around. The only one who deserves this is you, he said, and he spit at her feet. Before I could blink, Moira had her fist wound up and ready to strike. Whoa, hey, I yelled, waving my arms between them. Don't we have more pressing matters at hand? I asked them. I quickly stepped in front of Moira, blocking her from hitting the man. I've seen her long arms in action, and she had a serious reach. I did my best to diffuse the tension. Why don't we focus on getting up to speed? You two can have your bout once we break some ground. Let's figure out a way to get home. There has to be some way out of here. The big man seemed to appreciate my intervention. Thanks for looking out, bud, he said and looked over my shoulder at Moira. Hey, who's this guy anyway? He asked. This is Wolf. He was the last caretaker and the reason why I'm here, Moira said. Hey, put her there, friend, the big man said excitedly. He extended his hand out to me, so I shook it. My hand basically disappeared when he closed his around mine. He squeezed tight, and I tried not to wince. Who would have thought that I would make a friend? Technically, we could climb up onto the upside-down lighthouse. The hills of the Black Rock can lead you up there. If you climb up and step onto the top of the ruined one here, you can probably get inside. I mean, they practically touch each other. Go on, I'm listening, I said. There's no light here at all. I'm sure you've gathered that by now. The lighthouse has a Fresnel lens. Are you familiar with that? He asked me. I think so. It's really bright, right? It's the brightest light up north. It will guide a ship through the worst weather imaginable. It even cuts through the fog, if you could believe it. That lighthouse is a beacon of hope, just as it was when we were all alive. A few of the originals here had a theory that the light could cut through this dimension. It would open a tear that would let us travel back, he explained. Well, what are we waiting for then? Let's go. I was already heading in the direction of the lighthouse. No, don't go. We've never even tried that before. The lighthouse is guarded by some of the biggest, ugliest, most evil-looking beasts I've ever seen. They'd tear you to shreds and eat you for a snack. That stopped me dead in my tracks. Of course, this wasn't easy. Nothing ever is. A hoarse little voice spoke up from behind the group, Strider causing her inhales to whistle whimsically. When she finally reached him, she tugged the side of his overalls. Her father looked like a tired man. He was short, thin, and had a curly mustache that must have tickled his nose. Father, I must tell you something, she said softly. It was Violet, the little girl in the lighthouse. Her beautiful dress now dirty and tattered. She had her hands behind her back as she traced imaginary circles in the ground with the tip of her left foot. I go and play in that lighthouse sometimes. Violet, how many times have I told you? You need to stay away from there. His face clenched, but he quickly changed his tone. He cupped her chin between two of his fingers and gently lifted her head up to meet his eyes. You know that it's dangerous, my little sweet girl. Look at all that has already become of us. I couldn't bear to lose you again, Violet's father said. I know. I'm sorry, Father. I am so careful, though. I slip in and out where the light used to shine. Her voice gained a little excitement. She turned her head to look at me, her hand tucked neatly inside of her father's. That's how I was able to see you. I can go back and forth up there. She giggled and then let out a couple of dry coughs. Moira and I shot each other side-eyed glances. You can go back, I asked. Yes, sir. The lighthouse is special. When I'm sad or bored, I go and I play on the stairs. Nothing is upside down in there. My head feels a little funny, but it's so much fun. Violet smiled and scanned the group, her eyes searching for approval. Everyone seemed to have had mixed reactions to this news. Some stepped back to retreat in fear, while others looked hopeful and waited to hear more. Moira stayed quiet. I could tell that her gears were turning, so I let her organize her thoughts. Hey, big guy, what's your name anyway? I asked. Arthur, but everyone here calls me Trunks on account of the tree trunk legs. He pointed his fingers down at his thighs, and man, were they huge. Well, it's nice to meet you, Trunks, I said. We've all got a few more things to iron out before we make any definite decisions. There's a chunk of names unaccounted for from the logs that I can remember, but nobody seems to want to talk about that. Hopefully, I can get some answers soon. On the bright side, if there is one, it looks like we may not be doomed after all. I'll be sure to update you on what we decide as soon as we know.